big thing is really helping to focus your customers on what is long-term success and how you're going to get them there and help get them there. And really, what I encourage people to do is, let's move beyond just the implementation, the go live. Let's talk about what is success 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host, Kimberly, and we're really excited to have all of you join us today. On the show, we talk to CX and technology experts from around the world. We explore, uncover, and share fresh insights on creating experiences that your customers will remember and look forward to. Engati is the world's leading multilingual, no-code digital CX platform available across 15 channels with 53,000 solutions created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as the top platform by Inc. magazine, Tech World, CIO magazine, and many others. Engati recently also won the CODI 2021 award for being the best AI-driven technology solution. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 500,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest. We have Jason Whitehead with us on the show today. He is the co-founder of Success Chain. He is also the co-host of the renowned podcast, The Jason's Take On. He is one of the Jasons of the customer success world. He is also the partner and co-founder of the Customer Success Mastermind. He also assists software vendors and provides and ensures sustainable user base while making customers gain their best outputs. Welcome to the show, Jason. We are so glad to have you join us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Really excited.
Likewise. Before we dive into our amazing interview with Jason, don't forget to subscribe to Engati and tap that bell icon so that you get access to exclusive content coming from thought leaders from around the world. Well, Jason, welcome to the show. We are definitely going to talk about customer success and all the highs and lows that we're going to face in this segment. My first question to you is, why is change management or user adoption so critical to customer success?
Oh, I love that question too. I think one of the things when I'm talking with customer success folks is they spend a lot of time really focused on their product and how they engage with their customers, but they miss the simple question of what do you actually do to help your customers use your product and really get there? And they're so busy on, oh, we've got to make sure we deliver value to them, but they skip over the question, well, how do you do that? And what a lot of people need to remember is getting user adoption, getting all of your customers, users and staff members to use the product as designed, as intended, effective is absolutely critical. And it really, from a project management point of view, it's on that critical path to success. Because if you don't get people to use your system and use it well and in a collaborative manner, you're never going to get the value that you want, and your customers will never get the value, so they won't want to renew. And there go all of your upsells, there go all your renewals. So it's absolutely critical to do that. And I think the other thing is that people seem to forget is that technology is all about enabling new ways of working. Technology on its own doesn't necessarily deliver this great value, but it's about getting people to change how they do their job. It's about changing their work behaviors. And that's really an organizational issue, that's a behavioral issue, and that doesn't just happen by itself. It's about getting people to get new habits and find new ways to embrace technology. So you've got to really have a concerted expertise and plan and approach for how you do that. And unfortunately, I think most CS teams are still in their infancy about how they build those skills within their customer base. So that's why I think it's absolutely critical that people focus on change management and user adoption as part of their customer success efforts.
What about SaaS customers? Why do SaaS customers need help driving, change and adoption?
It's interesting. So many organizations, they buy technology and especially, if you have a really good sales team and a really good demo, it's very seductive and the technology looks great. We're going to solve all these problems. And those demos, many times they're in a very sterile, clean environment with pristine data and a script that the salespeople are going to go through. And it looks very great. But the reality is when it gets into your organization, things are very messy. And most organizations that are buying technology, they really lack the expertise in how to use technology to create widespread success. They lack the organizational change expertise they need. And how do they get everyone in their organization to use it well and to use it effectively and to change how they're doing jobs? So if customers, they see the technology and they're excited by it, but then they don't know how to actually get their teams to use it, they'll never achieve those outcomes that they want. And it's a big challenge for them. I think one of the things that I look at as well too is, think of driving change and adoption in your organization is trying to get everyone in your organization to learn a new skill or a new way of behaving. Think of it as how do you get a New Year's resolution to stick? Maybe you make a New Year's resolution to eat healthier or exercise more, or whatever it is. And 3-4 months later down the road, that kind of falls by the wayside. It's pretty much the same with how people adopt technology, that if you don't have a consistent effort, it's going to fall by the wayside and the value won't be there. And now you're not just talking about getting one person to do it in their own personal life where they have complete control over how they show up and what they do. You're trying to get everyone in your organization to do this and make the same New Year's resolution, get everyone to stick to it. So you have that collaborative effort. And that's a huge challenge. And it doesn't just happen, and really requires some efforts there. And from what I've seen, and a large part of my career, especially early on, has been working on buyers of software, working hands-on either as an employee or as a consultant to help them put in user adoption and change programs. They don't know how to approach it. They don't know what resources they need. They don't know what efforts required and how to sustain it year over year as their organization changes, as their technology changes. So they really need a lot of help. And I think it's up to the customer success teams to provide that.
Correct. You clearly mentioned that things do get messy when in terms of using technology here. So what should CSM SaaS vendors actually do to help their customers maximize and sustain a high effective user adoption here?
That's a great one. There's a lot of things they can do, and I think it needs to be adjusted based on if you're high touch and low touch, and if you have big complex implementations that take months and years versus if it's instant on kind of software. But I think there's several things. I mean, first, I think the vendor needs to be talking with the customer all along about what is it the customer needs to do in their organization to drive change, to drive adoption, to make sure that people start to use this technology and then keep using it year over year. And having that discussion alone really starts to focus the vendor on, I need to, or the buyer on more than just getting the system live. I need to figure out what happens next and what's going to happen 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So I think that's a big thing. I think trying to figure out and assess from your customers, what is their likelihood of success at driving change and adoption, identify some gaps for them and help them fill them. So, when I go to many buyers of software and I ask them who in your organization is responsible for making sure the system is used and delivering value 3, 4, 5 years from now, many of the buyers of software say, well, no one, we don't have anyone. And that's a huge red flag, and it should be a huge red flag for any customer success person. If your customer doesn't have a point person with the skills and expertise and resources to drive adoption and success, the chances of them being successful with your technology and getting value and renewing are very slim. And so you need to figure that out. I think some other things you can do is really help build up your customer skills and expertise and change and adoption if they don't have them. You can provide resources to them. You can embed it in your methodology to talk about the steps of what they need to do to create value, where it goes from there. On our podcast, we invite guests in quite a bit, and many of them talk about the need to not just be experts in their software, but to provide subject matter expertise. So, for example, if there's a software where they're selling in things such as privacy and identity control or other security measures, they said many of their customers who buy their software, they lack deep expertise internally for that, and they may have a point person who's going to implement the system and get it live from a technical point of view, but doesn't really have all that other subject matter expertise and need to really protect their customer or to make sure they get the value that they want. And so the vendors are providing a lot of that as well. And I think providing expertise in change and adoption to your customers is something that helps your customers and ultimately helps you as a vendor. Perfect example, I'm sure most people are familiar with HubSpot out there, and they have great resources that go beyond using their tool, but great resources on how to be effective marketer, how to do effective email campaigns, how to be effective in your sales follow-up and sales cycles and things like this, all focused on building the skills of their users in subject matter expertise. And it's very similar to that. So I think that's something that CS vendors need to be able to do, is to help provide that expertise and then help develop it for their customers. Now, the ultimate challenge around that is, though, many CS teams lack those expertise internally, and their CS team, especially if they're new in their career and recently out of school and maybe their first or second job in customer success, you need to build that capability with your own organization before you can take it to your customer, or partner with someone who has it to bring it in.
Correct. You have definitely thrown light on how it is important to kind of work on the internal team as well. So building a high impact customer success program also requires a lot of internal change, like you've mentioned, within a SaaS vendor's organization. What do SaaS vendors need to know and do in order to drive and change internal alignment internally?
Yeah, I think that's also something we've seen is within the vendors, especially organizations that have never done customer success before, they fail to realize just how, you know, complete it really is in their organization and how much of a big change it's going to be for them. So I think recognizing that when you have a CS team, you're not just building out your CS practice and having methodologies and staff members and CS tools, but you're really changing your philosophy about how you engage with customers to make sure the customer is successful from day one. And when you look at that, and to really get there, you need to align your marketing and your sales to get the focus not just on the features and widgets and cool functionality of the system, but how you're going to help the customer adopt them in their organization so that they're successful. And that's a big change for people in marketing and sales who maybe have never sold that way, who've never presented that, oh, we're a complete solution, not just about the technology, but also about helping you create value. We also find CS team members need to spend a lot of time working closely with their product team, the product development folks, and to learn what's coming in and to provide feedback of this is what our customers are struggling with from a business perspective. How do we solve this differently? All of those activities to really get your whole organization aligned, it requires time, it requires coordination between the different departments. It requires making sure that the incentives and motivations of each department are all aligned. And that's a big effort. And many, many times that is missed. So I definitely would encourage SaaS vendors to take a real close look at how they work across their department. And as a CS leader, you know, we often talk about the rule of threes, and many CS leaders have told us that they focus their effort on in one of three buckets. One is building and managing their internal CS team and helping their staff grow and develop in their practice and their capacity. One is working hands-on with the customers to help them drive change and adoption in their organization and make sure the customers are getting there. And then the third one is this, what we're talking about, spend at least a third of their time working on internal alignment and internal change to help drive this culture and focus and practice across the entire organization of making the customer successful. So it's a huge effort, and any CS leader that doesn't devote the right amount of time and resources to that will really struggle down the road if they don't, because they probably won't get the support they need from the other departments.
Correct. You've definitely put down these three rules into the perfect way that, you know, the SaaS vendors can actually take a look at how the management is placed and how they can, you know, kind of deliver the best of experience. Are there any other thoughts you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think the big thing is really helping to focus your customers on what is long-term success and how you're going to get them there and help get them there. And really, what I encourage people to do is, you know, let's move beyond just the implementation, the go live. Let's talk about what is success 3, 4, 5 years down the road and how we're going to get there. And what are all the changes that are going to happen in your organization? You'll have new staff members come in, you'll have new changes in your organization, changes to the economy, changes to regulation. We're going to have changes to our product, everything else. How are we going to work together down this road? And how do we make sure that you're doing all the activities? And I also think it's important that CS team members set the expectation with customers that we're here to support you, we're here to guide you, we're here to help you, but ultimately you need to do the work in your organization because we can't drive change and success in your organization, only you can do that. We can provide the expertise and resources and help you down that path, and that's what we're here to do. But it is a collaboration, and it is changing the dynamics between the software vendor and their customer as well too. And then I think the final thought, as we've touched upon, is if your CS team lacks the expertise and appreciation for change management and adoption, they're not going to be effective ambassadors to your customers. So you've got to help build that capacity in both your staff members, but also your methodologies and your approach, so that everyone is really focused on all this activity. And then the final piece, just coming back to close it out, is that the whole reason we talk about change and adoption, again, as we mentioned before, is it's not the end all and be all on its own, but it's the critical path to getting that outcome and value that your customers need. So as we talk about it, no adoption, no value, no renewals. And you really need to make sure that you're following that path to get everyone the outcome that they want.
Yes, definitely. You have rightly put, you know, the rules and kind of set a nice, what you could say, a platform for actually all the leaders out there to kind of actually go back and take a look at how the departments are functioning and kind of really have put this in the best way possible. So thank you so much, Jason, for sharing with us your insights. Your time is really valuable to us. Thank you so much for doing the interview with us. We'll be back again with a new episode and a brand new expert soon. So stay tuned and we'll see you around for the next one.